Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. As you can probably tell, my writing corner looks a little bit different. I have gotten a new desk, a new chair, and it is just coming together so well. My fairy lights are there, I've got a light right here, but it is nice and bright outside, so there's really no need for all the lights, but of course my fairy lights will still stay on. And right next to me, off camera, you can't see, but right over there is my bookshelf. So I've got everything close to me now, my amazing little setup, and I am so excited to work here. This was all set up yesterday actually, and it was set up pretty late, like 6 p.m. everything was like properly ready. So from 6 p.m. to like 11 p.m. I was sat here and just doing work. Of course I did get up and take breaks, but I was mostly sat here doing work, and I can't wait to be productive here even more. Speaking of productivity, tomorrow is Camp NaNoWriMo. Today is the final day of March. It is March 31st, which means today is also the final day before I have to start drafting the first 50,000 words of the first book in my fantasy series. So I actually made myself a to-do list in my little book, a to-do list book. I made myself a to-do list of everything that has to be done today, and maybe tomorrow if I don't get everything done. If I go to it, it's just like a couple of things to do. Quite a bit, but like the majority of things that I put on this list is things to help me when I don't feel inspired. So things like making Pinterest boards and making song playlists, things I have not done yet but I think would be fun. Also, I've never made a Pinterest board, so that will be fun to explore, or like a proper Pinterest board. I made a Pinterest board and put like 3 pins in it and called it a day. But anyway, I think the best thing to do to start my camp prep, since it is tomorrow, I'm going to start by announcing it on the Camp Nano website. So the very first thing I'm going to do is cross off announcing it on the Camp Nano website, because this is something I already did, and I actually did film it so that I can insert it into this video. You can see it right now, and it's just basically me announcing the project. If you go on the NaNoWriMo website now, you'll be able to see like the temporary image I put there, which is basically just a picture that represents magic, because there is magic in my book. However, since that was already done, I can cross this off my list. The next thing I'm going to do is probably finish my outline. And what I mean by finish my outline is that my outline is mostly done. Like the world building stuff is done. The like scene outlining, I know what happens from start to end. There's only one thing that I didn't finish, and that's why I put it on this list. And that is just basically fleshing out the scenes of Act 3. So I know what happens in Act 3, except I didn't like flesh out the scenes, I didn't separate the scenes. So that's what I've got to do. I'm going to spend now doing that. So I pulled up my outline and I got my glasses, of course. I'm just going to spend like the next, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, since the groundwork is already there, but not everything is there. So 10 minutes should be fine. Okay, so I haven't really been working on it that long, but I must have like forgotten how much outlining I have exactly, because I just finished outlining Act 3. I knew what was going to happen. Act 1 and 2 were thoroughly outlined. In Act 3 I put the basis there because I don't know, it's like I don't quite know what way I want to go with Act 3, but I just figured it out, and I think instead of like properly outlining this, I'm just going to leave it loosely outlined like I have it right now. Perhaps when I get to it I'll outline it more, or I'll try discovery writing, which I occasionally sometimes do, but with like big genres that require world building like fantasy, sci-fi, then you know I'm a little bit more iffy about it. But this project, I think Act 1, 2 and 3 are outlined enough that I feel comfortable doing that. To my surprise, in book 1, there's only 3 main leads, which I thought there was going to be more, but I'm not going to add in a character for the sake of adding them in, and there are a couple of other characters that make appearances, but they're not too big. And then there's also the antagonist, which sort of makes an appearance in this book, but they don't become a prominent figure until people start figuring it out. I did not expect to have this outline done so quickly. I thought I was going to spend like 10 minutes. With that being said, I can cross off this next thing that I wanted to do. So in relation to this, it's a little bit related in terms like I'm very loosely outlining, and that is to plan out what happens in the next books. I don't know how many books there are going to be. I keep juggling between it being just a trilogy, which is wild, to being a 5-book series, to being even more. But obviously I can't say anything. I don't know what's going to happen. I have to actually plan these books out. So I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time just like outlining what Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 is, just to give myself a basis, a rough idea. Subplots don't have to be figured out. I just have to have a rough idea of what's going to happen in each book. Thankfully, I know I left like tons open so that the books can be spread out, and I also know what the second book is going to be, and therefore I know what the second book's title is going to be. No idea for the first, no idea for any other, no idea for the series name, but I do know the second book's name because this has been a title name I've been wanting to use for literally forever, and now I finally have one. Just going to outline the basic acts, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 for each book, and hopefully I'll figure out exactly how many books there are going to be so I can plan out how to like write this series in a good amount of time instead of like spending years on it, which I don't want to spend years on it. Anyway, let's outline the rest of the books in spirit of camp prep. I have brought my speakers over here so I can listen to the music better, so don't worry too much about them. They're just to play music while I outline. One thing that I quickly wanted to say before I continue is that in book 2, two of the main characters actually go to Paris, and I haven't really talked about this too much, but it's been such a long time dream to set a book in Paris or have characters in France. In the second book, they're in France, they're in Paris, so I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. Of course, I will need to do a ton of research, I will need to look how places look, I'll probably spend a lot of time on Google Maps just to make this a pretty good place, to make it all fleshed out. However, I'm super excited that this book is set in Paris. I'd say like 25% of the book is set in Paris, 25% of the book is set in the town, this fictional magical town. The other 25% is spent in this forest, this fairy forest. If my book has the fairies, the fae involved, so it's like a forest that they go to, which spend like 25% of the book in. Last 25% is spent in Europe generally, and what I mean by that is they spend some time in France, Paris, and then they move around because they're on the run, basically. So that's pretty exciting, I can't wait. But anyway, enough rambling about me writing about Paris. I am just going to get on to writing the outline, to outlining, to camp prepping. I'm just gonna go outline. back to say that this entire series is outlined, and to my surprise, it is neither a trilogy or a 5-book series, but rather a 4-book series. And at first I was like, you know, maybe I should just condense it to a trilogy because it'd be easier to work with 3 books than 4. But then I realised if I tried doing that, the books would be like really squashed and there'd be too much trying to happen in one book. So I had to separate and add on some more content. Found a different way to start book 1, which is really fun, and basically I'll just explain here. There's like a myth of how magical beings got their powers, and this is the myth that people are taught in school, this is the history people are taught, and this is like, it's a myth, but people in this world treat it as fact. However, in book 2 they learn the truth, so in book 2 I'm retelling the story that I told in the prologue, in the epilogue, except I'm telling it the correct way so the readers will see the difference between how the royal family told people, like the original person that got the magic, how they told the story, versus the people that gave them the magic, the beings that gave these humans magic, are telling the real story, and I think that's going to be really fun. So anyway, I also figured out character deaths, which characters die, and there's quite a lot of character deaths, surprisingly. I have 3 main leads, but you might be pleased to know that none of them die. But there are a couple of other characters that die. That's another thing I can tick off my list. So I'm right here and I'm going to cross off planning the next books, which was actually the most time-consuming task I had set for myself. So that's pretty good. It is also the hardest task I set for myself today because I had to force these ideas, kind of. I mean, the second book was pretty easy because I knew kind of what was going to happen, and also I loved the idea that it was set in Paris. But then the 3rd book and the 4th book I was struggling because I wanted to wrap it up in a way that the readers would feel content with the way I wrapped it up, but I also wanted it to be pretty interesting still. I didn't want it to be like just tying up loose ends and that's the book, because I can tie up loose ends at the end of a book. So I wanted it to be its own book, but I also wanted it to tie up loose ends. So it was a little bit hard to figure that stuff out, but it's all done. The remaining things that I have to do are mostly like inspiration things. The things I put for myself to do is writing the synopsis for book 1, since that's the one I'm writing for Camp NaNoWriMo, and that's the one I know the best since I outlined it the most. Also to write the first 500 words of book 1. And the reason I want to do this is because on Camp NaNoWriMo tomorrow, I want to make sure that I know what I'm doing. I don't want to start with nothing, like a blank page, and then worry that, you know, I'm not going to be able to come up with anything. So I want to write the first 500 words so that I have a place to start. I also have Pinterest boards I want to make, character aesthetics that I want to try, and a writing playlist for this series. Those are the remaining things I want to do for my camp prep. I think I'm going to do the synopsis first since the outline is still fresh in my head, so I can kind of make a synopsis. For the synopsis, I actually want to move away from my desk, away from screens, because I've been sitting here for quite a while, so I think taking a break from this little area would be good for my eyes, even with these. And also I think it'd be better for the video if I sat somewhere else instead of me being in the same spot for the entire thing. So I'm going to get a notebook, I'm going to get a pen, and then I'm going to try to write a synopsis by hand, which will be very hard because I can't write synopsises. I apologize for this awkward lighting, my window's right there. Anyway, I am sitting on my bed now and I have my monster notebook, and I also have a purple pen since the royal family is quite prominent in this series, so I thought purple is kind of like a royal colour. Let's write the synopsis in purple, hopefully get some inspiration. Okay, so I tried writing this synopsis like 4 times. tons of times. Each time I was not happy. At one point I only wrote 2 words and I knew the direction I was going in was terrible, but I did manage to write a rough draft of a synopsis that I think I'll keep for now because it reveals enough that you kind of know what's going on, but it doesn't reveal too much that it spoils everything in the plot. So I think I'm going to keep this for now. It is a pretty good synopsis. I think it's something I can definitely tweak and work with, but a synopsis nonetheless. I'm actually going to update the synopsis onto the Nano website so anyone can see the synopsis. I'm going to move back to my desk and I'm going to write this terrible synopsis down on the NaNoWriMo website. So let me read you this synopsis, and obviously bear in mind it's like not the best, not yet. It's like the best it's going to be for a while. So anyway, Ariel is different from most people. One would think that being different in a secret town of magical beings would be a good thing, but it's not. At 16, she's the biggest outcast known. Because of this, Ariel jumps at the chance of being able to attend the academy for all young spellcasters. After all, it's her only shot at being ordinary, her only shot to prove she's more than her flaws. Only, this doesn't end up as she expected. A mysterious royal family, a series of unexplained murders, a trial where Ariel is the prime suspect. All she wanted was a normal life, an opportunity to live her teenage years like everyone else. But instead, she's given an experience she can never forget and a reputation her life depends on her redeeming. So that's it. That's kinda the plot of the first book. I think it's alright for what it is, but definitely could be better. Does explain some of the things that happen in the book, but doesn't reveal too much. This also means I can cross yet another thing off my to-do list for my camp prep. Now I'm going to do the 500 words for the project. Only I'm going to take a break first because I've been working non-stop for about an hour now, I think. Maybe an hour and a half. And then when I come back, I'm going to write the first 500 words of the story. Minus the prologue I want to do of that myth that I was talking about. That might be done at a later date since I'm probably going to write the myths separately and then insert them in the book when it's time. But for now, I'm going to call it a break, get some food, and yeah, I'll see you all in like a second, but it's going to be some time for me. Okay. So it's been a little bit of time and I managed to write the 500 words to begin with. I kind of want to continue, but I know if I continue then I'll get carried away and there's other stuff I want to do today, so we'll leave it at that. I really like what I wrote so far and I think it's a really good start. I know how to continue from here. Another thing I wanted to say is that my setup changed a little bit. It was quite plain and empty. And my grandma just came over and she gave me like a desk organizer. Let me show you. I have this now. Thanks, Grandma. Now that that's done, I can cross off something off the list. So, write first 500 words. Done. The only things to do now is the Pinterest boards, the character aesthetics, and playlist. And these are all things that like they're not part of the story per se, but they help me, and if anyone ever wants to see like the mood or they want to understand my thought process during writing the story, then I can just share my writing playlist or my Pinterest boards. And then that should be my camp prep done. There's nothing else I need to do until tomorrow when I need to write 1600 words. Well, tomorrow I only have to write 1100 words because I'm counting this towards camp, but still over 1,000 words, which is pretty big. I'm going to now do just a time lapse of me making YouTube playlists and do some Pinterest boards, and then when those are done a little bit, I'll come back. Done. I did like just a little YouTube playlist because normally I make the best playlists when I hear the song and I realize that the song fits my book really well. I can't just search for songs that I think will fit, which is why my playlist only has 14 songs. And these songs, they fit the mood apart from Paris by the Chainsmokers, which fits an actual thing that happens in book 2. I managed to cross off 2 things off my to-do list, which is both make the Pinterest board and make the YouTube playlist or writing playlist. This is the end of the video. I managed to get a lot of prep work done, and tomorrow is camp, like I keep saying, so I have a ton to do tomorrow, but at least I managed to finish up all my prep and now I feel comfortable enough to start writing tomorrow. Anyway, yes, thank you very much for watching. Let me know how Camp NaNoWriMo is going for you, since I'm pretty sure this video comes out during Camp NaNoWriMo. Let me know how it's going for you. Did you prep, or are you just going into it, or is your camp goal just to chill? Because that's a fair enough goal. Writing can be hard sometimes. I'll see you all in the next one, and yeah.